Luke Beasley, I'm calling you out. Let's find out why.
This casually, you're throwing that out. Bannon saying we're serious. We need to keep him in the White House is proof of your lack of care for our Constitution. And I say that again in front of the backdrop of the reality that there's no chance, zippity doo dah, of a constitutional amendment changing term limits.
Nope, there isn't one way constitutional amendment. That's it. Luke Beasley, you're incorrect. And I think you might get to it later on in your video, but here's the problem that I have with what you're telling folks. You're telling folks that, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because it can't happen constitutionally. This is a guy who has shown us that he doesn't care about the Constitution. Trump doesn't care about the Constitution. And you know what? His supporters don't care about it either, even as much as they say they do. Because look what happens when we have supposed to have a peaceful transition of power. Right now, if you parallel that to what's going on now with Trump talking about his third term, you see a lot of similarities. It starts out as a little bit of a whisper, like, "Oh, blah blah blah." So, I think maybe the election is going to be rigged, and all of a sudden, you have to fight like hell because of this, that, and the other. Blah 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 blah. The MAGA crowd is one thing; they are incredibly loyal to a guy who doesn't give two shits about him, other than the fact that he needs them to do his dirty work, keep him in office. So Luke Beasley, be careful when you say this. Be careful when you put this stuff out like this, because when you do this, this tells folks not to worry, and absolutely incorrect. No, you 100% need to be paying attention to what's going on. We need to be making sure to call out and refute all the nonsense. Yes, would it take legally for Trump to get a third term? Legally, it would take a constitutional amendment, which means you have to get a constitutional convention going, and that's not something you can just throw together, right? There's a process for that you have to call, blah, 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 right? Big process to get a constitutional convention together. Everybody gets together in the government and says, this is what we're going to propose. And then that proposal has to go out to all the states, and then we need 3/5 of the states to ratify for a constitutional amendment. Yes, that is the only legal way. And for those of you who want to talk about, well, no, there's another way where Mike Pence can become the VP or the VP, and then he could be no, he can't. Right? The 22nd Amendment says no. That's not. You can serve. Trump can serve 2 terms. It doesn't say 2 consecutive terms. It doesn't say, well, maybe if he serves like 2 years here of one term and then 2 years there of another term. No, no, two terms. Period. That's all he can serve. And and furthermore, he can't hold a succeedable office. For instance, he can't be the vice president under Vance and have Vance step down to give Trump the presidency. You can't do that. It's not according to law, according to the Constitution. You can't do that, right? But again, I argue these people don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about following the law. That January 6th is a perfect example of that. And Trump is great at getting people riled up, getting his base riled up, and somehow making them out to be like political prisoners or politically persecuted or some nonsense like that, when he's the one who is perpetuating political violence, the breaking of our Constitution, lawlessness, etc. See what else Luke has to say.
And there's 2 ways you can do that, as previously explained. Congress proposes it, ratified by the states. Congress has to do 2/3, states 3/4. Or the states get a convention and then have to ratify it. 2/3 to call the convention, 3/4 to ratify it. So there's just a way.
Amending the U.S. Constitution is a challenging process outlined in Article 5, requiring 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress to propose an amendment, followed by ratification of 3/4 of the state. So he's correct. 3/4 of the state. My mistake. Luke is correct there. But again, we're not talking about legal ways. We're talking about people who are willing to usurp power and authority in order to get what they want because they somehow believe a 34 count convicted felon. Let's go back to Luke.
And the fact that he's kind of playing cute with it is the problem. Now, they say it's just to upset you. Well, first of all, the fact that the fact that you're not upset by it is a part of the issue I have with you. The fact that Bannon was not just trying to upset, he said clearly on Chris Cuomo's show, as was referenced there by Stephen A. Smith, this is not, we're pursuing this.
So there's a different problem there altogether, right? There's a different problem. Talking about just to upset us. Is it the job of the president to upset us, quote unquote? Is that the job? Right? I thought so. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I don't get down with these people who talk about, well, not my president, not my president. Yes, he is your president, unfortunately. He's a president of the United States of America, and if you're an American citizen, if you're a legal resident, etc., he is your president. That's the way it works. Biden understood this. Obama understood this. George W. Bush understood this. H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, Ford, etc., etc., etc. They all understood that even though they represented a particular political party, the ideals of a particular political party, they understood that they were there to represent all of us. So can you, maybe I'm wrong, and I could be, I could be wrong. But I don't recall any point in time during Biden, Obama, Clinton, Carter, Reagan, etc., where the president specifically set out to irritate or upset his political opponent or the ideal, the folks who subscribe to the opposing ideology of the political party. Because at the end of the day, Trump is supposed to make sure that he's doing things that are best for everybody, which wouldn't include, I'm going to go out of my way to make you upset by threatening to break the law. I'm going to go out of my way to make you upset in order to further double down on me doing stupid shit in order to rile up my base to get you guys fighting. It's like, let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this?
We have a few different ideas. There's one idea. Stop saying that. And that idea is not going to work. So now you're just talking about unconstitutional behavior, which is what our fear is. Because I bet Bill O'Reilly, if I had said back before the 2020 election, hey, if Trump loses this, do you think that he's going to illegally try to stay in power in schemes so brazen that multiple investigations and then indictments will come of them, and then ultimately won't end up manifesting because the American people will have allowed Trump to get in the White House again? But he probably would have said, that's crazy. No, Trump, when he says he's not going to leave, he won't actually try to stay illegally, right?
Absolutely right, Luke. Fair. I'm glad you got to it. So I don't need to call you out as much as I did at the beginning. I'm going to pull the reins a little bit. But that's what we need to worry about. That's the worry. That's the real worry there. It's not about, well, is there a way? Yeah, there is a legal way that is most likely not going to happen. However, when you've got Trump and his cronies actively looking for ways to legally remove judges who disagree with him, calling out rhinos, and looking to buy Supreme Court justices, or at least by state Supreme Court justices. Now, granted, that didn't happen. Good job, by the way, Elon Musk spending $25 million to get a Democrat elected. By the way, I got to say, I'm just going to reiterate that whole nonsense. If you're a Republican and you saw what happened in Wisconsin and you were okay with it, you're part of the problem. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Mr. Beasley. These people who support what Elon Musk did in Wisconsin, these people who support the removal of judges, of Supreme Court judges, checking the office of the presidency. Caroline Leavitt, when she gets on her, her fucking soapbox and she's the mouthpiece of the MAGA crowd and she tells the MAGA crowd what they want to hear. That's an issue. This is how we lose democracy. This is how somebody like Trump gets into office and doesn't leave. It's not going to be legal, but what does it matter if it's happening? Those January 6th rioters didn't serve justice. They got pardoned. So they're out. And all it takes, right? All it takes is one crazy department secretary, not crazy. That's not, we shouldn't use the word crazy, not the word crazy. All it takes is one loyalist Secretary of Defense who can curate loyalist soldiers, officers, etc., ones that will, and they're out there, but all those soldiers are supposed to take an oath to the Constitution. However, it wouldn't be difficult for them to find people who are going to be loyalists to the president. And that's all it takes. It just takes the right people in the right places at the right time to make sure they can usurp power from we, the people, the rest of us. And what are we going to do? Right? So, what we have to do now is continue to call out Pete Hegseth for his massive blunders, continue to call out Kash Patel for his ties to the Kremlin, continue to call out Elon Musk for engaging in illegal activity. Buying votes is illegal. Continue to call out President Trump when he says this nonsense about third terms. Continue to call out JD Vance. Continue to call out all of these people, all of these MAGA fools, these mouthpieces who are here just to rile up the base so they can get that support. That's the most dangerous part about Trump talking about a third term. Joking about, not joking, but not joking, not taking it serious. It's not a joke, but I'm not taking it. We've looked into it. That's scary. They're telling you what they're going to do, right? What's the old saying? When somebody tells you what they are repeatedly, listen. Anyway, I'm Johnny O. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can do so right there. Luke Beasley, continue to fight the good fight. Go watch him. I know I'm sure you do. If you're looking at me, it's not because of me. It's probably because I put Luke Beasley in the title. And yes, I'm punching up. But Luke Beasley, I'm watching you. Stay safe out there, folks.